Hi, Stephen Hand from Staccato in Hobart. This is part 2 of my discussion of silver's true and false times and some of the misconceptions surrounding them. And what I want to look at in this video is what constitutes a false time. Silver tells us quite specifically in Paradox 14 that the false fights be these: whatsoever is done with the foot or feet before the hand is false. Now, as we saw in the previous video, in silver's time, the word before meant to go ahead of or to precede. Right? So basically what silver is saying is that if the foot moves, if in attack the foot moves ahead of the hand, if the foot moves first and the hand moves after it, both in time and space, then that constitutes a false time. Which is, there's really not much wriggle room there. Now silver goes on to say why it's a false time. So, to give the full passage, he says, the false fights be these: whatsoever is done with the foot or feet before the hand is false. Because the hand is swifter than the foot or feet being a slower mover than the hand in that manner of fight is tied to the time of the foot or feet, and being tied thereto hath lost his freedom, and is made thereby as slow in his motions as the foot or feet, and therefore that fight is false. Now, specifically, this is talking about the false fight. Some people have suggested that because he's saying that the hand is tied to the time of the foot, that any time when you move the foot, that constitutes a false fight. But that's not what silver's saying at all. Firstly, we'll look into what tied actually means, but most of all, he's saying the false fights are when the foot goes ahead of the hand. Okay, he's saying the true fights are when the hand goes in front of the foot. And he's saying the reason why false fight, specifically when the foot moves ahead of the hand, is false is because in that fight, the speed of the hand is tied to the speed of the foot. Okay, so let's explore what being tied to the speed of the foot actually means. So what does the word tie mean when we look at the speed of the hand being tied to the speed of the foot? Well, some people say that it means being slowed to the speed of the foot, but is that what tie means? In silver's time, the word tie meant to be attached to be constrained by, right? To be limited by. So basically what silver is saying is that the speed of the hand, if you move your foot first and in front of your hand, then the speed of your hand is constrained by and limited by the speed of your feet. So how does that actually work? Let's do a few little experiments. Let's look at what happens when your hand leads your body, right? When your hand goes before your body in the Elizabethan sense of the word before, and what happens when your foot goes before your hand. And we can see when we do this why silver used that very specific word tied, that the speed of your hand is tied to the speed of your foot. Firstly, what I'm going to show you is a true time as defined by silver, where the hand goes in front of the foot in attack. And we're going to have another fencer, in this case my son, is going to be doing a counter-attack, and he's going to be trying to strike me, and we'll see what happens with the timing and when the blows actually land. as you could see from that demonstration, if I attack in a true time where the hand goes before the foot, then if I'm counter-attacked, both attacks will land. What about if I'm moving in a false time? If I'm moving in a false time where the foot goes before, in front of the hand, what happens to the timing of that attack and counter-attack? So as you can see, one of the problems with attacking in a false time is that if you're counter-attacked as you're attacked in a false time, the counter-attack will land before your own attack lands. However, even if you're attacking in a true time, isn't there still a problem that you've been hit by a counter-attack? Okay, you may have hit the other guy, but how does that help you? All right? Instead of being one dead idiot attacking in a false time, you're two dead idiots because you attacked in a true time. So how does it actually help you? Well, if you attack in a true time, by Silver's own definition, your hand is not tied to the speed of your foot. What does that actually mean? It means that your hand is not constrained, it's not limited by the speed of your foot, because that's what the word tie means, and specifically did mean in Silver's time. So we're going to repeat that experiment, and in the first example I'm going to be attacking in a true time, and I'm going to be trying to do something about that counter-attack. I'm going to be trying to stop that counter-attack landing, and you'll be able to see whether my hand is limited, constrained, confined, prevented from doing anything, or whether it's actually tied to the speed of my foot. So firstly, I'll show you what happens with an attack in a true time. So as you can see, when I attack in a true time, my hand is not tied to the speed of my foot. My hand may be moving at the same speed as my foot for the first part of the action, but it's not tied to it. I was able to speed my hand up and change direction and deflect my son's counterattack so that it didn't land. In contrast, when you attack in a false time, your foot starts to move first, and your hand, which moves faster than your foot, is using that speed to catch up to the foot so that it can arrive at the same time as that foot. And the effect of that, as you'll see here, is that the speed of your hand is tied to the speed of your foot. There really is no way you can avoid that counterattack. So I'm going to try my damnedest in this next example to do exactly what I just did with a true time, but using a false time. And let's see how well it works. God, that's so horrible. Jesus. So, as you could see, if I'm in a false time, where my foot moves before in front of my hand, that extra speed of my hand has to be used to catch up to my foot, and it can't be used to move ahead of my body and my feet to do anything useful, like deflect the counterattack. So, as Silver puts it, the speed of my hand has been tied to the speed of my foot, right? The action of my hand is constrained and limited by the ability of my foot to bring my hand into action. Okay, so Silver specifically says that A false time is when your foot moves before, in front of, preceding your hand. He specifically says that in that fight, in false fight, where your foot moves in front of your hand, the speed of your hand is tied to the speed of your foot and hath lost its freedom. It's lost its freedom to change, speed up, change direction, deflect the counter-attack. And he specifically does not say anything about true times having that limitation. And he defines true times as when your hand goes before, in front of, or preceding your foot. So what we've seen here is what constitutes a false time, the foot leading the hand, and why in that fight the speed of your hand is tied to the speed of your foot and has lost its freedom. And it's nothing to do with the step, it's to do with the order in which your body parts move and the fact that your hand has to play catch up to your feet which have led the attack. Thanks for watching.